Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Mostly Superheroes. Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle. You're getting two this week. This is episode 25. We might even have a third one for you. I'm not going to promise you the third one. This time, another Logan's Heroes. Told you we had a lot of these lined up. Today we have Stephen Walden, local St. Louis artist. He's painted and met. Here's some big names for you. Brie Larson, of course, our Captain Marvel. John Hamm, St. Louis superstar and Mad Men, of course, and a lot more MCU characters. He has some fun stories to tell. We're going to go through, highlight some of his art and his pieces, which are actually painted in 3D, which I thought was wild. And then we talk about some TV and film and some of the bangers. Some stuff I've been really excited to talk about. MCU, DC Universe stuff, and of course Star Wars and The Mandalorian. So all of the big stuff that's happening right now, we open it up. So enjoy the episode, enjoy the interview, get to know Steven. Here it is, our next Logan's Heroes. What up, folks? Welcome back to another edition of Logan's Heroes. I'm your host, Logan, host of Mostly Superheroes. Today, we have another St. Louis person with us. We're really highlighting the local scene here this week, so you St. Louis fans, it's a great time to be listening. This week, we have local artist Stephen Walden. Hey, Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Logan, thanks for having me. Thank you. Wonderful audience here. Thank you.
I don't know if you, everyone always points it out. There's one guy back there that is really excited to see you. I don't, listen to this guy.
I love it. It's like that really distinct guy that was in the Night Court laugh track. You could always like tell this one guy, and it's specific to Night Court. I'm like that he just showed up in every single one.
Our buddy Mike, PC Mike, he's on the show regularly. He said that guy is the guy that's like coming into the comedy club like from the bathroom and missed the joke, but wants everyone to think he heard the joke.
I love it. Perfect.
Steven, thanks for joining us today, man. I'm really excited to talk to you. I told you this morning, I've been researching you like a creep, and I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm a big fan of your art, dude. You got some great looking art. And I want to showcase that. And I know that you and I are also going to talk about some TV and film stuff in 2021. So I feel like we got a packed episode today, but I just wanted to start with, who the hell are you, man? Where are you from? What's your story?
I was born the son of a sharecropper. No, that's George Jefferson. Sorry. Born in Hope, Arkansas, moved to St. Louis in 2004, and this is the longest place that I've lived. So it really has second longest place I've lived outside of Arkansas. So it really has become a home. Although it doesn't really matter what high school I went to when people ask me that question in St. Louis. I'm not really from St. Louis.
Yeah, that's so just so you know, we have listeners all over the world. So high school in St. Louis is like a thing. It's like, where'd you go to high school? Instead of like in your town, it might be like, what's your favorite sports team or what alumni at college you go to. Here, it's what's your high school.
Yeah, it's totally a codified thing. And it's like, I need to know a snapshot of who you are and make snap judgments about you immediately. So I know your social status, your background, where'd you grow up, your education, your religion, all those things. It's just, it's the equivalent of, so what's your major at a college party? Mm-hmm. But probably maybe even a little more sinister than that. But I do, St. Louis is my home now, and I love it for being here. I took a circuitous path to being an artist. As you see, you've got my webpage up on your screen right now, which my webpage is really out of date.
I also have your Dropbox. I have your Dropbox ones too, so okay. I didn't want to give it too much. But here's, we can definitely have some of your better visuals.
No, it's totally fine. You can go. You can do either. It's just I have great website shame of having an entire quarantine to do something about it. Yet I have not. It's my house project that I haven't gotten to. Haven't gotten to house projects either.
The fact that you have a website, man, I feel like the fact that you have a website, you're already miles ahead in my book. I mean, that's great.
Thank you.
Which, hey, we'll just plug it right now. It's StephenWalden.com, right? Super simple.
Yes, it
Okay.
is. It is. You can see the more current stuff on Instagram at Stephen Walden, and then also over on my Facebook professional page, Stephen Walden Art, over there.
Perfect.
Those are updated a little bit more frequently, and then Twitter. I don't know. Whenever I get bored, I mean, Twitter is a cesspool of nonsense. But every now and then, I like to post something that's new out there. Anyway, keeping it positive. So sorry, I'm a positive guy. It's
No,
2020.
you can keep it positive, but keep it real too, man. We talk real on this show.
Good, excellent. So uh, I moved to St. Louis. I was not an artist. I was a technical writer.
Hmm.
I wrote software manuals for banking software. And then when I made enough money at that and my soul had died, I decided I wanted to be a copywriter, which had a little bit more creativity. So, like you, I also did some agency stuff. But at the end of the day, I realized that it's great making money, but I needed something more out of money, and that kind of ennui led me to go into personal therapy, and just to talk about what is this malaise that I'm feeling, this dissatisfaction that I have with my work and my career, and I realized I needed something more than just making money and having a stable job, which that was the lie that was foisted upon me to think if you make a certain amount of money and if you have a regular job, you'll be happy. It eliminates a lot of stress. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's one thing to say that in 2020 when a lot of people have lost their jobs. So I do understand that. But let's go back to the before time, the long ago. So when I realized that having this corporate job, it wasn't doing it for me. Going through therapy, I realized that therapy was great, and I was getting a lot of help out of it, and thought, well, as a male who is good at talking about feelings, articulating feelings, and communication, then this would be perfect for me to go into as a career. And I quit my job, and I decided I'm going to be a therapist, and I was going to go into sex therapy. But then along the way, I was married at the time, and my marriage fell apart for a number of reasons. My father died, marriage fell apart, and um, basically life hit the reset button, hit rock bottom. And while I was in grad school in Probe, I signed up for an art therapy class as an elective. Just because it looked interesting. The teacher who was doing it, I knew that they were. I knew them from another context. I'm like, I'm just going to do this. Just do it. I'd taken art classes in high school, and I drew in high school, but never really took anything seriously. And in this art therapy class, it was the semester right after that, my wife had moved out, my ex-wife had moved out, and I was very deep into the throes of depression and loss and grieving, and I took those feelings into the art, and it was very therapeutic for me. It felt great. But then my friends noticed my work, and they said, you're really good. You should get your stuff out there. And then I had another friend to be like, hey, could I pay you to paint something for me? Like, what? You want to pay me to do art? This is something I do for free.
Hmm.
And way led on to way. And then I submitted some work to a local organization who exhibited new artists. My work got in. I got invited to another exhibition, and then it hit me that one of the things that I could do if I wanted to make a career out of doing art in St. Louis, that I should paint. I had two options really. This is my standard joke. So if you listen to if you stalked me and listened to any of my other interviews, you've heard this joke. Is that I had two options in St. Louis for painting subjects. Number one, the Cardinals, or number two, toasted ravioli.
Mm.
And so I decided, well, I'm going to start painting sports. And not just as a career to make money. As things started to fall into place, I thought, well, I was in a career before where I was making money. I miss the creative side of it. I've always loved to create. But the thing that I hated about copywriting is I didn't feel like I was helping people. I was just helping sell shit, and it's that, what can I do that goes beyond that? And I didn't want to go down this path of doing art where I'm just creating shit for other people to buy, just to be a production factory. So I thought, well, how can I use my work to do good in the world? And so that while I'm doing sports art, I should reach out to athletes in the area who are humanitarians. and have charities, and how can I use my art to help those charities. And one of the first people that I worked with was Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals, and he has a foundation I've done a lot of work with, and I still work with, Big League Impact, and he basically did a tremendous amount to help launch my career in terms of giving me visibility, and then also just the personal and professional validation of, oh my God, people will pay money for my art. They will pay high amounts of money for my art, amounts of money that are sustainable for me to make a living. See, that's so old. It's like in 2016. Oh my
It's
God,
still
you know.
impressive though.
So,
For those that can't
thank
see
you,
the
thank
screen,
you.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give a round of applause. You raised $75,000 raised at charity events in 2016.
Yeah, it's like, and to me, it's like that was a thank you. That was a um, it was a low number up until this year when all the events have been canceled. But I am proud to say that my artwork, since I've started doing this as a career, has helped raise over $250,000 for different charities at charity events.
Holy moly, that's a number.
Yeah, and it's like I was hoping to add to that number this year. That's been one of my frustrations this year is, there's so many we're not being able to see people and not being able to do art in public, which is a big thing for me. But a big pain point has been I just have not been able to help out as many people and to raise money for charities as I have wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I'm certainly hoping to change in 2021 as the vaccines roll out.
Well, man, let me just say first of all, thank you for sharing all that. That's unbelievable, and what a story. I'll tell you right now, personally, it's resonating with me quite a bit.
Mm,
Just from the standpoint of, I've talked a lot about the lessons we're learning this year out of 2020,
mhm,
and I'll tell you right now, I've talked about this on the show before. Sorry if I'm a broken record, but it's almost like that what we were told. Wasn't necessarily true, right? As we were growing
mhm,
up and as we got into the industry, and capitalism had its heyday throughout the 60s and the 80s, and then we get to 1990 and 2000s, and it's a whole new world that I thought was like running really well, and then this year showed that like nothing's run really well, right? And it's like,
yeah.
oh, there's a lot more kind of flexibility and fluctuation in these infrastructures that are out here that, okay, maybe there's something that I can do myself that feeds my passion, that can do some
Mhm,
good, and where I can still put some food on the table for me and my family. And it sounds like you
mhm.
went through this process where you landed at like that intersection. And what was it that eventually just pushed you over the edge? Was it like an opportunity of like timing? Was it more about like, oh, you saw the success of one project and you're like, let's try that again on a bigger scale? Like, what was it like for you to make that turning point from everyday career man to I'm going to do this myself?
It was as I was going through my grad school program, and I started painting. Gosh, that would have been 2014, and then I was graduating in spring of 2015. And as I was applying for jobs in 2015, I I saw the entry level pay for first year graduates of a master's in counseling program, unless you're going into private practice, which was not going to be an option for me at the time. The pay was not. It was very low, and I thought, well, shit, I could do this, with art. I bet,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't have to worry about licensure. I wouldn't have to do a 9 to 5 job. I wouldn't have to worry about these other things. There was the concern of just like looking back and be like, well, shit, what did I spend the last 3 years of my life doing then? But and that's where I see. So that's like was the phase two of my job or phase one, I don't know, but and we'll get to this in a minute where I see where I'm going to incorporate the therapy part of it
Mm-hmm.
as we move forward. But I just realized that it's like, you know what, I could probably do art and probably do just as well as I would as a first year uh, counseling program graduate. And I did. I more than exceeded it. I, was more successful at that job or this job up until this year than any job that I've ever had in my life, financially, personally, spiritually, all of those things. And I was my own boss, and that was, as it's a really wonderful and freeing thing. So it was that of realizing, like, you know what? I don't really have anything to lose at this stage, and I can fall back on this degree if I need to at this stage.
Very cool. Well, we've talked a lot about you being an artist. I'd like to highlight some of your art if that's cool.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm thinking. I mean, this show is called Mostly Superheroes, and you got a whole section on your website called comic books, and you also sent me
Yeah,
some Dropbox folders with some also behind the scenes stuff that apparently the public hasn't seen. So I'm excited to share
correct.
some of that with our listeners and our viewers. Where would you like to start? Is there some recent piece that you'd like to see? I see you got Captain Marvel there behind you. You got our boy You
Yeah,
got Superman behind you.
autographed by Brie
Oh, wow,
and autographed by Brandon Routh.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I knew that from listening to your shows that you said that you're a Superman guy, and so those were two. And it's funny. It's as I've thought about 2020, I thought, God, I just really didn't do as much art as I wanted to. And that's kind of true, in the sense that all creatives need deadlines. Otherwise, we'll just fart away the time and just dick around and get distracted by shiny things. Um, but having events really helps power that engine of what's the next thing that I'm going to create. And I thought, God, I just really didn't have that as much this year, and I did not. So I created at a different pace, and my output was not the same. But I do think that my level of art this year, also because I took an art class for the first time ever during the pandemic.
Wow.
I'm self-taught, by the way. I've never taken any formal art training. And I took an online class during the pandemic, and it has really helped me change or elevate my work to another level that I'm really excited about.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, I definitely want to highlight some of these. I mean, you've met a lot of celebrities now, so this has
Yeah,
started with, you doing some charity work and getting some big exposure there. But I mean, it looks like just looking at your website, and you talked about Adam Wainwright. We talked about this before we started recording, but I didn't realize the connection with Adam Wainwright and Disney's The Mandalorian with
well, that's David
Oh, I'm
Eckstein.
sorry,
David
Eckstein.
Eckstein. Yeah.
Hey, you asked me too if I'm a big sports fan. I just showed you exactly how big of a get the guys mixed up right away.
You're fine. You're fine. We'll edit that out. We'll edit that
No,
out.
that's perfect. But you do have a picture with Adam Wainwright, one of our St. Louis Cardinals, and you got to meet him.
Yes. Yeah, Adam and I are buddies. He just won the Roberto Clemente Award, which was awarded to MLB players that do great community work. And I texted him, and it's a huge honor, and Adam totally deserves it. I'm so proud of him. And I texted him, and I said, "Hey, man, Tom Hanks was wrong. Sometimes there is crying in baseball, and Roberto would be proud." And he appreciated that. So,
What about Bill
and it's
Clinton? How did this happen? How did you meet
that
Bill Clinton? Oh,
is
so he got him playing a saxophone to give you listeners some visuals, a nice drawing, painting of Bill Clinton playing the sax.
Yeah, from his appearance on the Arsenio Hall show for his 1992 presidential run. And that's why the blue background is Arsenio. It's a homage to Arsenio's blue wall. Um, and Bill and I are from the same hometown, Hope, Arkansas. Still live in a place called Hope.
Wow. Well, it's just beautiful. But
And
just to say,
thank
just give you
you.
some props because it looks like he's almost popping out against that background. It looks so great.
So my pieces are also in 3D. So when you wear a special pair of ChromaDepth 3D glasses, the work actually pops out. And that's a piece
What?
that's actually Bill's property now. It is hanging in his apartment at the Bill Clinton Presidential Library in Little Rock, Arkansas.
So people
Which is
wear.
funny because he didn't realize that when I presented this to him, it was at an event in Hope, Arkansas. He came to speak, and I presented this to him, and I think he just thought it was just like, oh, here's something that's going to be an installation in Hope at this where he was speaking, and it's like, no, it's for you, Mr. President, and he was really excited about that.
Yeah.
So excited he put it in the car on the way back to Little Rock where he spent the night afterwards. So
Well, you had a U.S. president buy a piece of your art and it's hanging in their house. I think that's quite an accomplishment and shows the strides you made. So wait, I got to ask more questions about the 3D. So people wear the
yeah,
glasses like at the movies. Is that the same thing?
so it's a different kind of technology. It's called ChromaDepth, and it's all based around color. So the way that it works is that it shifts color to move cooler colors back and it brings warmer colors forward. And so, when you put on the glasses and you look at, there's Brie Larson, my girlfriend, when I got to meet her, she had a really awesome reaction when I showed it to her. That was in Chicago last year. She, I told her, I said, hey, she's like, oh my God, this is great. And then I said, it's also in 3D. And I gave her a pair of the glasses. And she's like, get out of here. And I held it up and let her look at it. She says, holy shit. And she grabbed her phone and she took a photo and she put it on her Instagram story,
Oh my
which is on
gosh.
my Instagram story. I copied it there. That was a really, really fantastic moment when I saw that had hit. And it showed that she really did like it.
What was
So
and what was Brie Larson like in person? Was she very friendly, very
so
nice, and
sweet, so sweet, very warm, very kind, very engaging. And it was just really great to meet her and to just tell her thank you for her work that she does for Planned Parenthood, for the LGBT community. That was really important. I mean, in the climate of things that were going on in 2019 and 2020 and forward, just to have someone that was being a metaphorical hero on the screen and a little literal hero off screen is really, really important. And my girlfriend, she also was able to share a nice moment with her as well. And so it was really, really great. I got to meet her, Chris Hemsworth, and Tom Holland all that weekend, and that was really, really fantastic. And they were all great, and there's stories to go with them all.
yeah, for sure. What was the occasion that you got to meet all of those big household MCU names? Wow.
Yeah, it's the ACE convention in Chicago, and that's one of their things. They bring in A-listers. They had in Tessa Thompson, and Jake Gyllenhaal was also there. Some other folks as well, Norman Reedus, The Walking Dead. Um, I Kieran something. She's Sabrina on the Netflix Sabrina show.
Yeah.
She was the daughter on Mad Men. She was a sweetheart. There were some other folks that were there too. But that's one of the things that Ace does. And they were going to have, events all this year as well. I was slated to have some pieces signed in their Boston event it was going to be held in mid-March, and we know what happened then. But I had pieces for Chris Evans and Tom Hiddleston and Ewan McGregor, and they all just they're all on the sidelines right now. So those will be unveiled at some point in the future, and I'll be going back to work on those and unveiling those as well.
Very cool. Well, very excited to see those. You'll definitely have to let me know when those are up because our fans are going to
Oh
go
yeah,
wild. I mean, MCU is definitely takes up a lot of the airspace on here. It hasn't in the last few months, but now that Phase 4 is kicking off, we're back in action. So I'll just tell you right now, I'm just flat out jealous of these people you've met. Like I'm over here smiling, and I'm just thinking like, I'm so mad that I haven't got to meet any of these. You mentioned John Hamm and Mad Men. I don't think a lot of people
yeah.
listening probably realize this. This is another St. Louis celeb, and you got to meet him. Here he is right here. What do you think of your art? That painting is just fantastic.
Thank you. He's awesome. I don't think that I've had any negative interactions with any celebrities directly. There have been, I've heard about other celebrities that are difficult to deal with that I have intentionally avoided because I don't want to ruin that perception
Hmm.
of that person. But John was great. He was also at Adam's event. He and Adam Wainwright are buddies because John's a huge Cardinals fan,
Hmm.
and he was there. He drafted a fantasy football team, and I had a print of this piece actually because for him to autograph. A print is a copy. I had a copy of it. This is the original. That's the one that we auctioned off at the event. But I had him autograph a print, and he personalized it as I asked him to my mother, who is a big John Hamm fan because she is a female. And as someone that produces estrogen, you are required to be a fan of John Hamm.
Yeah.
That is a ridiculously handsome man, people.
Yeah, he is, and I mean, we just finished rewatching Mad Men, and you're right. He's got it. You're always looking for the people that have it, whatever that is. He's
Yeah.
got it. He's just walks around, and he's like the most handsome dude you've ever seen.
My dream pick for to play an aged Batman, but an aged
Ooh,
Bruce Wayne.
yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely want to highlight some of your stuff that people haven't seen. Before that, have you met any heroes that of yours, like through this process, this journey you've been on? Because you've meeting these are just some insane to me household names you've met. Have you come across any heroes of yours that have been like childhood favorites of yours?
You know, I think, oh, man, unfortunately, my childhood heroes, like my top two, they've already passed away. Christopher Reeve and Walter Payton. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
those are two of my big ones.
Yeah, it's a good list.
And yeah, and I painted them a number of times, and that's been great. But a lot of the times, you know, it's like I'm painting more contemporary folks. There are exceptions to the rule. I don't get nervous a lot around meeting them because you realize they're people. I try to think, okay, if this were me as a therapist and they were in my office and I were seeing them as a client, then I would see them as a human being. But sometimes, you know, things could, they, that system gets, the override happens. Obviously Clinton, I was nervous about that, but you know, my nervous also sometimes comes out. It comes out in humor, and he was really fantastic to meet. And going through, there was a line that we went through for photographs, and I had stationed the painting beforehand in the green room for him to see, and I had asked the organizers, you know, like to make sure that, you know, he sees it, and you know, I just would love to get a meet and greet, just shake handed, and if at all possible, I'd love to get a photograph with him, and and the painting, if it's possible. And we just didn't know because security is so tight. Well, as I went through and we did the photo, there's another photo of just me and him, I think behind or in front of an American flag, and I said, as I walked up to him, I said, "Mr. President, thank you so much. I'm the artist that had the piece." But even before, like, I got that part out, he said, "I want to talk with you. You did that amazing painting in the back, and would you mind just sticking around a little bit after, and we'll go in the back and get a photo together?" And I said, "Well, since you asked so nicely, I
Yeah.
guess so."
You're like, I
And
guess I have the time.
yeah, and it was funny because he went, yeah,
Oh
like
my
this
gosh.
smart
That's
ass, you know, and
that's a
he
real your impression is I feel like spot on.
he patted me on the back, and we walked to the green room, and he said, "I tell you, man, I love that painting. You know, when I was on Arsenio, I played Heartbreak Hotel and Bless the Child, and it was so cool walking back with him because you realize how much being a leader at that level has to do with charisma. And that guy, whatever you feel about him, he is charisma personified.
Mm.
And that, you know, even if you have negative feelings about Trump, the guy's charisma, you know, if it's positive or negative, W, charisma, Obama, charisma. And as they're walking back, it's just the type of charisma that Clinton has is he makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room.
Mm.
And as we're walking back, he's patting me on the back, like my older uncle would, you know, just being so friendly to me and just so kind and gentle and engaged. And it's like, you are the leader of the free world. You
Yeah,
know, it's
I'm
just a,
talking to the president, and he's just like we're just like
mhm.
two buddies hanging out right now.
Yeah, which, you know, there are multiple kinds of charisma, which is, you know, another thing that I've read about. And, you know, there's the charisma that, you know, the person that I think this particular book, it was like there were like five kinds, but the two that I remember are the one I just said, where you're the most important person in the room, and then the one where that individual makes you basically supplicate to the fact that they are the most important person in the room. And so that's I prefer to be the one that is going to be the more engaged and present to you. Except when I'm on a podcast interview, then it's all about me.
Yeah, right. Except for this exact moment.
Exactly.
We talked about this at the beginning. You know, we're having an interview. There is a level of ego, but you got to have a level of ego if you're going to be painting the two people you're painting, the people you're going to be conversing with. There's a level of, you know, I'm gonna do this, and like you said, at the end of the day, you realize that every person is a person. You know, you build these things up, you build people up in your heads, and at the end of the day, on the other side of that screen or that video that you're watching, they're a person that's just living day to day, just like you.
Right. And one of the things that artists talk about, even the ones that, you know, are not necessarily engaging with celebrities or whatever, when you're creating something from scratch and then you're taking it to an audience to, and then trying to say like, this is what the value of my piece is, either intrinsic value, monetary value, whatever it is. There's that thing that we hear about, that imposter syndrome, where it's like, you feel like, do I even deserve to be here? Am I really, I feel like I'm just fooling everyone. And I think that good artists and good people have that feeling. It's the ones that don't second guess that they're psychopaths,
Well, yeah,
but it's
because
just that,
then you shift from uh, not being good enough to entitlement, and then that's it's a whole
yeah.
different thing. And it's like, well, if you start acting entitled, it's very visible, it's not attractive, and people aren't going to work with you. If you be humble and a human and say, these are the things I'm good at, this is what I'm doing, and that's it, then people are often left with, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's, I know that uh, I am at my best when I am working from a place of gratitude, and to be grateful for the attention, the recognition, the regard, the time that people give me. That is when I know that I'm living my best life. And that's why, every time that we've talked, I've said, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you. I just really appreciate it. And you're like, oh, thank you. Thank you. So, but yeah, so it's just, it's a good mindset to have.
Yeah, and realizing that nobody owes anybody anything. We're all just here.
Yeah,
Well, cool,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Well, I would definitely want to focus on some stuff in terms of TV and film in 2021, because you've mentioned a couple of things that we both watch, and that's mostly superheroes. We're a TV and film podcast.
Right.
Before that, though, just to highlight a couple of your newer pieces, ones that I'm spotting out, and I'm going to highlight for people. Um, we are having this week, it's probably going to be tomorrow, recording wise, the Batman Returns Christmas special. You may have
That's
heard
what I
about it.
heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you've been listening to our show. We appreciate that more than you'll ever know. And I see right here, this looks like Keaton's Batman, right?
Yes, it is. Autographed by Michael Keaton.
And
Yeah, at the very bottom.
did you meet him?
I did not. He
Okay.
had an event in San Antonio, and that was one that I had to send a wave for. My girlfriend and I, we talked about it. It was right after we had done the event in Chicago with the Marvel guys, and she is a huge Beetlejuice fan. And as someone that's a big Batman fan, it's like, oh, what's his first ever meet and greet? And we thought about it. We looked at airline prices. We're like, you know what? We'll just sit this one out. And in retrospect, I'm really glad that I just did a send in, because the photographs and from the event of people with Michael Keaton, he kept his sunglasses on the whole time. It was almost like he was pre-social distancing before it was cool. You were way over on the other side of the room. Whereas, with the Marvel folks, at Chicago, they were doing hugs and all kinds of poses with people. And so I was glad that I didn't do that. But anyway, but that also kind of dovetails into the thing that I'm curious about going forward in 2021 in the future, is like, what do conventions look like with mass gatherings of people, and with celebrities and in-person autograph signings, and especially with sports shows that I do, which is usually older people who are going to be more susceptible to things. It's just, I don't know, it's just an interesting, we're really in a very interesting time right now, and I'm curious to know how 2020 is going to impact those things going forward.
Yeah, same here. And I've already seen, personally, professionally, and like, I think through how we met our buddy Jeremy. I'm very involved with the local St. Louis Advertising Club. We've been, we went from totally in person, totally 100% virtual. I've also seen Comic Con already making some shifts from like in person to, I think actually I have one tomorrow. I have a Pac-Man. They have like a honorary like 50-year Pac-Man anniversary
Oh,
virtual
cool.
event tomorrow. I'm gonna attend, right?
Right.
But like I don't know. I think it depends on like what's gonna happen with this vaccine. Like, are these things really gonna get things opening up? Maybe there's like a period of time where things like are hybrid, and like you might get like 20 people there. Those tickets cost a lot,
Right.
Who knows? I'm excited to see what it is. All right, looking at your other stuff here, we talked about the Man of Steel. Let's make this one our last one we'll talk about, and then we'll get into some TV and movie stuff. I'm gonna pause real quick. We scheduled this till 3? Do you have a hard stop at 3, or can you go over?
No, we can go till 5. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, when we get talking about TV and stuff, if you have the time, we'll just let it loose.
Yeah. I'm totally fine.
Oh, cool. Well, then I'm in no rush at all. Then, listener,
Awesome.
you're very welcome. You're getting plenty of content today. All right, I love this, Christopher Reeve. This is another time where I have to plug our YouTube channel. If you're listening and you're like, I really want to see these, we are sharing these as we're going along. This Christopher Reeves one, man, it's like him, 5 of him from suit, like businessman suit to Superman suit, and I love it. I think I'm gonna have to buy it from you. Is where I'm at with it.
Well, I highly encourage that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a commission piece by a huge fan, a huge Chris Reeve fan who lives in Cape Girardeau. A really great guy. So, hey, Andrew, if you're listening. But he and I talked about this piece for years of him wanting to do. He's like, I really want to do an alleyway Superman 2 transforming piece, Clark to Superman. And I was like, man, I'd love to do it. And so I reached out to my buddy Jim Bowers, who is, if you're a Superman the movie fan, check out his podcast and his website, Cape Wonder. He and Jay Towers, they do a wonderful job keeping the legacy of the Superman Reeve movies alive and well.
I think I
But
follow them on social media.
yeah, they're great. They're really, really great. And Jim, he is so fastidious, and he is a Kryptonian data bank unto himself when it comes to knowledge of these movies. And he had these amazing screen captures of this sequence, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, it's like, I'd love to use your work. Would you mind if I did for this? And he's like, absolutely. And I've got a print for him that I still need to mail him as a thank you for him. But this was a lot of fun to work on. This was in this transition period, no pun intended, when I was moving, trying to do different things with colors and whatnot. This year, it was right. I started this piece when I started taking the art course. And so it's like this hybrid of me trying different things with midtones and neutrals that you don't see in my other pieces. Not to get too, artistically nerdy with it. That, and it's so funny because as in taking these I think it's always been true, but it's especially true right now as I'm trying to push my art forward. That every time I look at a previous piece, I'm like, damn, I could have done this so much better had I done X, Y, and Z. And so that's why people say, what's your favorite piece? And my answer is the next one.
And I think that's a great answer. And from a guy that understands project like fixation and based work, you're always pushing the envelope, right? And
Yeah.
first of all, I had an artist on my show to interview. Never apologize for talking about nerdy artistic stuff. That's the whole point of today. And speaking of which, you mentioned their 3D pieces. So talking a little bit how you painted. So you mentioned that the Christopher Reeves piece we looked at was when you were kind of learning. So what style of painting, have you been doing? Do you do? And like, where are you going in the future in terms of your style and how these are created?
Well, I think the big thing is it's not unlike how I realized. So I started my art career and then I started reading books about how to market yourself. And what I realized is that I was already doing, I got one of my favorite books is Content Inc. by Joe Polizzi about content marketing. And I realized that I was already content marketing. I had just backed my way into it, but that book helped give me a different kind of a roadmap, a more of a formal understanding, a structure to understanding why the things that I was doing worked. And that's kind of what I've been doing with the art, is that I didn't understand, or I had like an instinctual understanding about what values are, meaning lights and darks and how that works and what chroma is. And um, I didn't know how to articulate these things. So what the classes have done have helped me understand not only like this is how to do this well, but this is why this works in this piece and it doesn't in another. It's not unlike a chef who, if you get a recipe and then you make a dish and you're like, oh, that tasted really good. There's a difference between doing that and following a recipe as compared to understanding how each individual ingredient works towards the final piece. And so, I mean, it's again, high concept dancer, but I'm getting an education while also trying to retain the style that has helped me remain or to be distinct in the market.
Great. Well, no, I think it's a great answer, and I appreciate kind of the behind the scenes. A lot of the takeaways that I like for really this segment specifically is not just to tell cool stories about cool people, but this is obviously going to resonate with artists out there. And I like for them to hear kind of like your journey, the way you're working, and understanding, pieces that made you successful. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be successful, and the more we can help other artists, it's a big piece of what we're doing today. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's a passion of mine to help other artists. And to me, people have asked me a number of times, "Oh, would you do art lessons?" I'm like, absolutely not, because I still don't know how to paint. It's like I'm doing all this, I'm winging it, and I think it would be irresponsible for me to teach someone how to do something if I don't understand I can teach you my process, but that's not really teaching you like good fundamentals.
Hmm.
And so to me, it's like helping other artists. I have done seminars on how to market your art because, as I've the thing I've consistently said is I'm an okay artist, but I'm fantastic at marketing. And now what I've been doing with the pandemic is like, okay, well, to kind of bridge the gap between I've got instincts that have served me well in the marketplace, both, the business side of it and the creative side of it. But it's like I need to bridge the gap and understand more about how to create better pieces. And that's to kind of make up for, I don't have any formal training, and to understand things better, to learn the language, and to basically get fundamentals that I didn't that I was never born with. Like, so one of the artists that I love is Leroy Neiman, and even if the casual viewer doesn't know who Leroy Neiman is, if you've ever seen Rocky 3, the very ending scene when Rocky and Apollo punch each other and it freezes on the punch, and then it does a crossfade into a painting of that punch. That's a Leroy Neiman painting, and Leroy Neiman is also in the Rocky movies. He's the guy with the crazy mustache. But he did these, very splattery, very colorful paintings, and I was like, yeah, when I first started painting, I'm like, that's my guy. That's who I want to be. But then as I started reading, I'm like, there are a lot of people that are super critical of Leroy Neiman's stuff for certain reasons. He uses paint straight out of the tube, and I'm like, oh, that's wrong. It's like not wrong, but it's like it's not, it's unsophisticated. It's something that is it's something that it's maybe is it like the auto tune version of singing possibly?
Yeah, it sounds like it's like
It's
a
a
it sounds like it's like a taboo, generally speaking, in terms of how to do it.
Yeah, it's something it's certainly looked down upon, and it's that what happens is that if you're doing that, then if you're using paint out of the tube, then anybody who uses paint out of the tube can mimic your colors and mimic your color scheme. That's what I learned later. But I'm like, I realized that I was, following a guy who not necessarily that esteemed for reasons that I liked him for. That it's like I kind of need to reverse engineer that and to take another look at my work, and that's what 2020 has been about for me. It's not how I thought it was going to be. I thought 2020 was going to be a move for me into public speaking and performance art and helping other people, because I had a TED Talk set up for the spring. I was slated to be the in-person keynote speaker at my high school's graduation, former high school's graduation, and I was going to continue to form that. But then as in-person events are canceled, I had to pivot. And
Hmm.
so rather than going outward to helping other people, I went inward to strengthen myself.
Well, that's great, man. I think the most important thing is the lesson there is one that's been very much, reiterated here in the last few months. I'm hearing it more and more, but people that knew early on, you had to pivot. Couldn't just sit
Yeah,
and it's like if this changed and this gets taken away and I can't go this route for you, that was the in person stuff. It's like, well, what can I do? What can I do to improve
right.
myself? What can I do to improve my skill set? All right. Well, before we wrap up the art piece and kind of talk about the TV and film stuff, what are you most excited about working on that people can look forward to seeing in the future? And why don't you tell people where it's best to find your art?
So many pieces, but I'll keep it germane to the conversation and say that I do have a Mandalorian piece with Grogu that I've got conceptually in my head. And then as soon as like the storm passes for the end of the year, I am going to be moving on to that. Hopefully for 2021, doing a piece to that. I've got some Marvel stuff that's in the hopper that I have not gotten to get a chance to do. As I've got a Gal Gadot piece that I was hoping to have done by Christmas, which I don't know that I will, but since it's going to be released on Christmas at home, I thought that would be really appropriate to have it ready by then. I don't know if it's going to be up by then, but I wanted to have as a companion to the Linda Carter piece that we see on the screen at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, yeah.
It's the exact same pose as that. But it's just like 4 years later of me improving as an artist. But yeah,
Unbelievable.
that's actually one of my trinity with Chris Reeve, Michael Keaton, and Linda Carter.
Yeah, and I see a
And
lot
then
of those. I see a lot of those, like you said, Trinity crossovers. And I mean, just to give some of you listeners an idea of some of the pieces Steven has done. Just mentioned Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. We already talked about Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, Christopher Reeves, of course. We also have Chris Hemsworth's Thor. Looks like is that Sam Raimi's Spider Man?
it's well, it's Tom Holland's
That's Tom Holland's. I
the
mean,
Stark suit.
at this point, they're all blurring for me because the Spider-Man
Yeah,
news is overwhelming lately. Lots of Superman stuff, touching my heartstrings. And I didn't even highlight any of these, but I see you got some wrestling ones in here too.
dude, got the Stinger. Sting came to St. Louis for an event, and as a fan of the Crow version of Sting, I had to paint one that also had the Surfer version of that. So that was cool. Also, Hulk Hogan, got to meet him as well, and I wasn't nervous when I met him, but I was. I don't know if the photo. Yeah, there's the photo of meeting him. I'm cheesing so hard in this photo. It's like
You
my
are, man. You're smiling so big. And dude,
seven, seven,
I'll tell you right now, I've actually been made fun of on this show. Sting is my favorite wrestler. So
Sting's awesome.
I agree. The baseball bat, the jacket, I was totally him for Halloween when I was 12.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. I was howling for him at Mardi Gras when I lived in New Orleans.
Ooh,
So
love Mardi Gras.
I'll be
So
too old for it.
Hulk Hogan though, you're cheesing
Yeah.
hard here.
So my 7-year-old Stephen is very happy in this photo, and I don't mean to brag or anything, but he did call me brother.
Oh man, like brother, like
uh,
he did
yeah,
it.
he was great. I walked up to him, and I had the painting in front of me. He just kind of stopped, and he just like, "Is this you?" And I said, well, technically it's you, sir. And he
Oh
was like, he
man.
rolled his eyes like, it's like, get over here, and it's like, that's awesome. And then Jimmy Hart was with him, and Jimmy Hart was in the back. It's like, Jimmy, come over here, look at this, man, check this out. And and I gave Hogan the glasses, and he thought that was awesome. And the promoters they were pissed off at me because I'm holding up the line. But Hogan was great, and they had me step aside, and they interviewed me for a little bit for something that he was doing for his website,
Yeah, because
because
I
that
picture
was.
these. Not to cut you off, I picture these conventions, right? So do you
Mhm.
go to these conventions as an attendee, and then you have the art, right? So you're just like, I have it, and you just kind of let people see it, and then at that, all of a sudden, the conversation's going.
This one I was a vendor.
Oh,
I had a
okay.
booth that was at the National. That was in Cleveland in 2018.
Okay.
And I'd done the year before in 2017 as well. And the National is a gigantic sports collectible show. It is amazing. I highly recommend it. But they branched out to also include some pop culture folks. Like they've had Barbara Eden, they've had Henry Winkler, just really strange. But then Hulk, I mean, it's sports entertainment, so he had huge crossover appeal. Hulk was great. He stayed probably longer than anyone else there doing autographs. He took breaks because, what he also did was he made time to spend and chat with every single fan. Going back to the Clinton thing, right? Is that you realize that he's not just famous and doesn't have the level of fame that he does because he's 6'7" and big, and he's not a very good wrestler. He's not a very good technical wrestler. But his charisma, his making you feel like you're important, it's absolutely off the charts. And that's a really special feeling when that happens. And I know, people could say it's generated, it's manufactured. I don't know. He gets something out of it. I think that he certainly is rewarded by that, and he gives back to his fans in that way. And I know there's controversy around Hulk with some of the things that he said, some really shitty things that he said specifically. And I was conflicted about painting this for a while, and I still retain some guilt of some stuff that Hulk's caught on tape saying that's not great. But this is one of the few times there are other pieces that I have started or I have wanted to paint, but I'm like, I can't because that would be an endorsement of this person's shitty behavior.
Mm,
Michael Jackson, hugely important to me,
right.
as a Gen Xer, but, he abused children,
Right. You start to
Uh,
it starts to become difficult, but like you also still have like these things of like I experienced this person, this star my entire life and this light, you know.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. It's a really slippery slope, and it's one of those things that someone can say, "Oh, well, you're being totally, hypocritical here." And this is an area where I would say, "Yeah, you're right. I absolutely am." And um, 43-year-old Stephen, whenever it was when I met him, totally gets that dichotomy. But 7-year-old Stephen really wanted me to finish that painting and meet that guy.
Yep.
So
Well, I think it's very I think it's cool that you had that mission inside and you're like, "Well, I'm going to finish this thing." And it looks
yeah.
fantastic. And I'll tell you, I've heard we've talked about the Hulk Hogan stuff on this show. I appreciate you addressing it, but like as far as this painting goes and him being a childhood hero to most of people, especially our age, our demographic, like we know that history, but people change over time. We see that. And
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also that,
I honestly don't know that much about it either. Like, I don't want to mislead anybody. Like Mike filled me in, and like now, we've talked about it here, but I still don't even know that much about what the guy has done. But I know he said some controversial stuff.
yeah, he said some really racist, some really
Mm.
vile racist shit,
Damn,
and
that sucks.
yeah, it is, and that's. I saw a meme on Reddit yesterday, and it just said that our parents, it took them 40 years for them to find out what a shitty person their hero was. But here we are learning this shit in real time, So it's like, we've got the edge, or, the younger generation has the edge. I don't know. I don't know. And it raises the interesting point, as all of this does. I mean, with me painting these famous people, there is a kind of edification that's going on here. There is a kind of hero worship that is happening here, and it's that, where do I draw the line as an artist? And clearly I crossed that line for Hulk. But there are others, Michael Jackson, I wouldn't. Jim Brown is a
Hmm.
good one, running back for the Cleveland Browns, who is amazing. I loved him. He's fucking hilarious, and I'm going to get you, sucker. It's like, and I thought, oh, this would be cool because he was at the same event in Cleveland,
Yeah.
obviously. And I thought, well, Hall of Fame running back. I don't know how many more signings he's going to do. This would be great. And then as I was researching him and I was working on this painting, in the middle of the painting, I realized that he has a tremendous history of domestic violence.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, that is and nothing that he's ever really held accountable for, or, apologized in any, or made reparations for in any significant way. And to me, it's just that, and I stopped the painting, in mid painting, even though I'd already put it on the work in progress online. Like, this is what I'm working on, and it looked really good too. So I was upset with that part of it, but I'm like, you know what? It doesn't outweigh the suffering of the women that he had inflicted pain on.
Right. Yeah,
So
you have that level set. I mean, I'm trying to apply this to something like if I was working on a big episode about somebody and then like this news comes out and it's like,
mhm.
well, damn, it's like can't control it. But hey, you got plenty of paintings of people out there
is
that
is there
are
someone
real.
in your pantheon of heroes? Are there people that you have personally canceled? And are there people that you're like, damn, I should cancel him, but I'm going to give him a pass?
Yeah, no, that is like the line that I think everyone lands on. And you can get like just talk about specifically like Michael Jackson, right? Just to really talk about
Hmm.
like a heavy topic. But I was the person that like it's like I don't want to I was at that like I don't want to listen to their music anymore. I don't want to hear it. I was like
Yeah.
I was like I there's plenty of music in the world and there's so much out there that does keep like is like, positive and life changing and makes you feel good. But at the same time, it's like, gosh, this guy that had this monumental, like the biggest pop star of all time, also
Hmm.
has this complete dark side of who he was. And it's like,
Right.
man, that sucks. I think the biggest thing that sucks is that I think with that situation, you look back at documentaries and stuff, and it just seems like a lot of it was people like not acknowledging it and a lot of blind eye,
Sure.
a lot of people letting things fly to where it could have probably been nipped in the butt like pretty early. And had that happen, like none of us would have to even feel this way. But because like this giant army of executives and agencies and people that wanted money in their pockets pushed this guy to the top, that's where I get like, don't ask me to choose because it's not my fault we're in this situation.
Mm.
But where do you land personally at the end of the day? Am I going to listen to Thriller? I don't know. Like if it's on at a bar, I'm not going to like leave the bar, you know. But
Right,
like
sure,
I'm
sure.
not like seeking it out anymore. I'll tell you that. That's kind of where
And
that's where I land personally.
you're right, and it certainly colors your experience of it now. And I know we're talking about it in selfish terms of what does this do for me? It's like not the fact that, oh, he raped children, but
Right.
we'll put that aside for a second because we're talking about how as fans, because it's a fan related podcast. So we're going to talk about child abuse. Um,
Yeah, the
no,
listeners here, you're getting your serious
yeah.
notes here today.
So it's one thing for me to, and I'll tell you, full disclosure, when I got the Sega Genesis, Moonwalker was one of the first games that I got because I was a huge fan of MJ at the time and loved it. And even though it was a shitty game, it's like I still loved it. Um, and it's one thing to like boot up the emulator and be like, you know what? Okay, maybe I will or maybe I won't play it now, as compared to as an artist choosing to publicly, celebrate if I were to paint him in a way that were, like everything else, that I did, which is usually a positive commentary. Now, if I painted a piece that expressed this dichotomy of Michael the amazing entertainer and Michael the monster, I don't know, that's another thing. But by and large, the statements that my pieces make have always been on the side of the positive that I can think of. I mean, there are a couple of that I've done that have had other messages, but the ones that are generally meant for mass consumption, they're positive.
Yeah, and
So
that's definitely the goal of this show too. Is like we're looking for the good in people, and we're trying to
right.
make good things happen around it. And like honestly, when people like usually it's someone like pushing that topic, I feel like it's like a general perception of like how they feel, and they're trying to figure out like I have people in my life that like I die. They're like I'm always gonna listen to it, and I'm like, why do you have to have such an opinion on that? Like, like if you wouldn't have brought it up, like we wouldn't have even have like talked about it. But like you wanted to
Is this
tell
the hill you want to die on? Yeah.
yeah, right. Like you didn't have to like you could just listen to it and like not tell anyone.
Funny story. So my ex, it's so funny. We were getting ready to go visit her family, and she had family in Mississippi. It was for Christmas. It was like the first time that I was going to meet her family, her big extended family, and I was going to meet her grandmother. And this was in like '05, I think. And so, and so I'm getting the intel, and I'm like, okay, so like, who do I need to know? Who do I need to talk to? What subjects, do I talk about? What subjects do I avoid? And my ex, she says, okay, well, when it comes to Memo Mary, you can talk about anything, but don't ever mention that you think O.J. Simpson is guilty. I'm like,
Oh
what
my
an what
god.
an what an odd fucking thing for a white woman in Mississippi to have strong opinions about.
Like
It's
how
like,
is this the topic that gets everybody going?
yeah, that's Norbert from Naked Gun. Don't talk about T.D. Parker from First and 10 like that. I
Oh
mean,
my
it's just,
god.
yeah.
That's
So
great, man. Well,
anyhow,
how about this? I think that what we'll do is I think it's a great time to take a quick break, and we're gonna
sure.
come right back. And when we come back, me and you are gonna talk about some 2021 movies and film, what we're excited for, what we think the industry might look like, and we'll let people know where they can find you, find your art, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, podcast listeners, this is Chris Holsey. I'm the host of the new true crime podcast, Small Town Forgotten. In the first season, I focus on a very personal cold case. 31 years ago, my family member Jimmy Wade Martin was murdered in front of multiple witnesses in Bonne Terre, Missouri. A murder weapon was found, and a man confessed, and yet there have been no convictions and no justice for Jimmy Wade's twin daughters. You can listen to Small Town Forgotten directly from our website, smalltownforgotten.com, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Mostly Superheroes, another edition of Logan's Heroes. We're here with Steve Walden, local St. Louis artist, covering the art he does, the charities he contributes to, the many celebrities he's met, and also controversial topics like Michael Jackson. We talk about everything.
Super topical too, let me tell you.
Super
Michael
topical.
Jackson, yeah, he's really trending right now, isn't he?
And I was asking Steven in the break because I wanted to know honestly, but you said you're having fun.
I am. No, this is fantastic. Thank you. And I don't know, maybe we'll give your viewers something to fire off in the comments about.
That would be great. You know, anything we can get them excited about, or even agitated. Agitated gets some good action too.
That's what I'm wondering if might happen. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to turn up the dial to some easy, digestible content for you. It's TV and music, and it's going to be actually a section that from our regular program show that we're going to start bringing into these interviews. It's, of course, What You Watching. What You Watching. It's pretty funky, right?
I love it. It's like Streets of Rage 2.
Oh, nice. We're already talking about it. So What You Watching, this is a segment, it kind of explains itself. We talk week by week, like what I'm watching. My listeners know I'm watching all sorts of things right now. I want to hear from you, Steven. What are you watching recently, and what are you most excited about going into the new year? That way we can have like a path of what you're watching, and then we can get into next year.
I mean, default answer is Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anybody who's anyone. Oh my God. What a love letter to Star Wars fans that show is. It's rewarding, all sects of fandom, sects of fandom, of in terms of, are you a prequel fan? Are you OT? Are you a fan of, the Caravan of Courage? Are you a fan of video games? They're bringing in stuff. When they brought in the Dark Troopers from Dark Forces, I shrieked. Oh, and shrieked when Ahsoka mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn as, a huge fan of the Timothy Zahn novels. That was just unbelievable, which the Zahn novels are totally underrated for pretty much being responsible for the Star Wars Renaissance that we had in the early 90s and having the special editions and the prequels and all that. That if you hated the Disney sequels, you'll love the Timothy Zahn trilogy of the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy, the Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. Amazing novels. So.
Amazing novels. And I'll tell you right now, you are already, I'll say, we'll keep it in space. You're light years ahead of us in terms of Star Wars knowledge. I talked to you about this. This is something that we have been continuously looking for. So it sounds like you might have to be coming back on the show to help us with some Mandalorian lore.
Would love to. Would absolutely. Oh my God, I literally just got chills.
Oh, dude, that's the magic we're looking for. Dude, let me just say right now, totally agree. Like from a guy that I've said this before many times on the show, I grew up a Star Wars fan, but I didn't get ingrained in like the graphic novels. I never watched the animated show, the Clone Wars. It stopped and began with the films. Sure. Love the original films, the prequels. As a child, I love them. Rewatching them, I'm like, oh, these are very boring. I realize now. The episode 3, that's obviously the highlight of those films for me. Mm-hmm. And then the new ones, I've said this multiple times. It left me with a weird taste in my mouth. Like not necessarily very bad or very good, but I watched the last first of all, the second movie, just like, what? And then the third movie, the last 30 minutes, I'm like, holy cow. This is stuff that I just was not anticipating.
God bless the sequel trilogy. They tried, and they succeeded in making money, but it's like, it's so interesting. And you look at the trajectory of how, the first one, The Force Awakens, comes out, and then The Last Jedi, which splits critics and fans like crazy. And then The Rise of Skywalker tries to be this Applebee's menu of making everybody happy and making no one happy. And that, it's really unfortunate. It feels squandered, that we had, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher for, 1.5 movies, 2 movies, and, Harrison Ford for all 3. And this is what we got when we could have had something different. And I'm going to go back to what I was listening to from the show that I was listening to on earlier today. You're a big Lost fan.
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of my criticisms of Lost is the same for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. J.J. Abrams is great at setting up a story with his mystery boxes. His payoffs are shit. And that's what happened, especially when he handed it off to Ryan Anderson in Last Jedi, when he totally did, his own, he did his swerve, subverting expectations, which, it's like, I don't have an issue with what a lot of the toxic fan base has issue with Last Jedi and, bashing bros and hating, women for the sake of hating women. I love that. But there are legitimate criticisms of what happened to Finn. It's like the Rose story. It went nowhere. It meant nothing.
You know what fell
I'm
short for
sorry.
me?
This is.
You
Go
know,
ahead.
no. I like to call out some of the specifics because I've been kind of vague about this, and I think I've done that on purpose, right? Because you don't want to stick to something that's going to piss a lot of people off because, these movies are that fan base is they'll be voiceful. They'll
Yeah.
let you know.
Yes.
But like Rey and Kylo's kiss.
Mhm.
Rey like getting all of the Jedi and then fighting with 2 lightsabers against Palpatine. That like Palpatine? Like what in the world? Like I was just and I knew it's just like you said, I've said this too. They try to play to all these audiences, especially like
Mhm.
now being Disney, household name. Like they're like, we got to hit on all cylinders. And when you do that, I feel like certain parts really fell short. Now there's parts, the movie itself, the overall film, I do like it. I mean, there's some great parts with whenever you do get like the whole team doing stuff. You get Rey, Finn, C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewbacca, like getting like they're running from the whoever they're running from at that part of the movie. Rey's using the Force, and then she blows up the thing. Like there's some really amazing parts, but I'll tell you right now where we started with this, and this was my whole point. The Mandalorian comes out of this thing of like I don't even know what this is gonna be. Like I know who Boba Fett is. I know how he what happened to him in the second movie, and so like who's this character? And here we are in season 2, and it is some of the best storytelling on screen that I have seen in years.
Yeah, God bless John Favreau. I
Yes,
mean, he's the guy
exactly.
that I once saw somebody that they were bemoaning X-Men 3 when Brett Ratner was directing it after the 2 great Bryan Singer movies. And I know, speaking of problematic people, Bryan Singer, but we'll save our molesting for later. Um, but Brett Ratner was tapped, and somebody described Brett Ratner as Brett Ratner's the kid that you invite over to come and play Masters of the Universe with, and then he'd make Merman fly. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's like you would get it fucking wrong. Whereas John Favreau is the guy that, no, Merman lives underwater and I know the backstory and all this other stuff. And it's like John Favreau, as he showed with Iron Man, that when you give him toys, he knows how to play with them, even if it's a nonsensical go nowhere show like Iron Man 2 was, it's still enjoyable. But when you give him time to, spin out over a season, he and Dave Filoni, there's a wonderful extra on season 1 at the very end on Disney Plus. If you look, it's like one of the last episodes, and Dave Filoni, I think, he says this show is like, okay, so imagine we've gotten all the hand-me-down toys from our older brother, except he got all the cool ones. We get the Ugnaught, we get the goofy thing from the Ewok TV show, but we have a really cool Boba Fett that was spray painted silver, and it's like, yeah, that's it. And it's like they have done so much with, I don't want to say so little, but the thing that I started to question after Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, and Solo, when those came out, and I'm like, I've got franchise fatigue, which I don't have with Marvel. And when Solo and Rise of Skywalker and also Last Jedi, which left me cold, one of the things I said to my nerd group is I was like, I don't think that Star Wars has the same breadth and depth that Marvel does. This is something that was created by one guy and has been expanded on for, 40 years, but also kind of half-assed because it was dormant for between like 83 and 92 or whenever it was. And then it came back, more and more. And it didn't feel the same as compared to Marvel, which has been around since the 40s, and has been built on and built on and built on and has changed with times and cultural things. And it's been more of a reflection of, there's just more of a maturing process with, or an evolving of characters and whatnot. And I just thought, God, Star Wars is just a more shallow pool. Mandalorian showing me that's not the case, not at all. You can still play and have a really great time with those goofy looking Ugnaught characters and, the assassin droid, that the IG-88 that, when we had as a kid, it was like, how does this thing even walk? You know, it's just so like even stiffer than Gort from Day the Earth Stood Still. How does it move? And they're answering these questions in really, really cool and fun ways. And as of the nerd side, and then from just a casual fan side of it, you know, it's telling the story. It's a Western, as you said before. It's also it makes me think of the Incredible Hulk TV show with Bill Bixby of, you know, I'm wandering in search of this thing from town to town, and oh, I've encountered this new village and they need my help. I'm the hired gun to help out this village. And I know it's a trope that predates, you know, even um, uh, um, the Incredible Hulk, you know, and probably even predates westerns. It can go all the way back to, you know, the Odyssey, when we're telling a story of, you know, trying to get to this ultimate destination, a home, which that's what we're trying to find, Grogu a home, you know, and along the way, and then like as has these travels that are strengthening him and teaching him these things about himself, you know, that's what's happening with the Mandalorian. So it's like, and I'm really curious what they're going to do with the guy under the suit. They've given Boba Fett more personality, all the personality and character development that we wanted him to have as a kid. They're finally giving that to him, and that's awesome.
And he looked him fighting his fight sequence in that his premiere episode. Oh my gosh! And then he gets his suit back on. And you're like, holy cow! Here it is. I'm seeing it. I'm watching it.
Did you watch the last episode?
The last episode, the Bill Burr episode.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So you saw he had it cleaned up. It's like, oh yay, he got his armor cleaned up.
Yeah, I was like, that's a fresh paint job.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I thought at first? I thought I was like some kind of. I always do this. I'm like, I'm noticing something that no one's noticed, and they must have. And then I realized, no, he got a paint job. It's not like too new.
If anything, the internet has shown us that there are a fleet of people with Asperger's noticing shit that you don't on every single thing that exists.
If you think you're the first one, there's actually 20 more things that you've missed.
Yeah.
All right, so talking about The Mandalorian and talking about Jon Favreau, because I'm a Jon Favreau loyalist at this point. He is Marvel Studios, and him and Feige and the team have made some of the best comic book stuff that I've ever seen. I was born and raised. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm a Superman guy. I'm a DC guy. And I was literally converted. Like, watching the last 15 years of movies, 12, 13 years of movies, I'm watching the MCU play out, and I'm following along. You know, I'm watching one movie at a time. And then I'm also watching the DC stuff, which we can talk about that too, because tables are turning. I'll tell you that. But I'm like, God, these movies are good, but these DC films, but they don't have this. Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And this, for me, is exactly what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and Bryce Dallas Howard and all these writers and directors on The Mandalorian are bringing. You got to have two key things for this. If you want to feel the magic, right? It's two key things. You got to have the story and the mission just totally sound. It's got to make sense to you, to me.
It's a vision.
Yes, exactly. And then you got to pair that with really well-known characters. Like, you're at the point. I don't think you need the well-known characters, because otherwise, how do you explain Groot? What I mean by well-known is they teach us who these characters are in real time, episode by episode.
Okay, yes.
So, like, the Mandalorian,
well realized, well actualized.
Yeah, actualized. That's a better word. It's like you're at this point now with the Mandalorian, to where like there are certain things where you'd be like, oh, he'd never do that. He'd never do that.
Right.
Because you know in your heart that like he's about this. He's about this thing, right?
Right, we're talking about characterization. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they just do such a good job showing you the little things behind, you know, how they think about a situation or how they'll act in a situation. When you put them in, you're like, okay, that's what this person is, and how is this going to apply to this overall mission, right?
They do, and man, Marvel did the right thing when not only that they tabbed Kevin Feige, but when they let him have the reins, and that was like sometime after Thor Dark World was made, where it became less of like decision by committee, and Kevin Feige had more of a direction in which to go. And that's why, you know, there's such a stark difference between a feel between Captain America First Avenger and Captain America Winter Soldier, you know, and I love both. They're very, very good, but you know, they both appeal to me as a comic fan, but the one other is a objectively better movie than the other.
Winter Soldier.
And Yes, and that's the problem. One of the big problems that DC has and has historically had, if you look at the history of the company, they have always been a rule by corporation, by a company. They always had a house style. Whereas Marvel, although Stan Lee was still writing the scripts for everyone, he let Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, go with their designs. There was room for each artist to do their own thing. And the other problem with DC is that they thought that they had their Feige Warner with Zack Snyder for setting the tone. But and I love Zack Snyder. I love their movies by Zack Snyder that I love. I thought, Dawn of the Dead was great. I enjoyed 300. I thought Watchmen was really well done. I know it has its critics, but I really enjoyed it.
It's one that I rewatch.
Yeah, but in terms of having a tone over the entire DC universe, wrong guy. I mean, I think that Zack's Superman is so incredibly wrong because everything is so dour, everything's miserable. It's a burden to be Superman. It's like, and I remember watching Black Panther, and in the theater, or even afterwards, I was just kind of chuckling to myself and thinking, here's Marvel taking essentially a C-list character and making him a cultural icon that would then go on to be an Oscar, I don't know if he won, but it was nominated in that, best mainstream.
They did win some awards, I do know.
Okay. And here's fucking DC and Warner with the greatest superhero to ever exist.
And all the money in the world.
And they can't get him right.
Yeah.
They cannot get it out of their own
It just
way.
wasn't enjoyable.
No, it was, I mean, I agree. And there are parts of it. I love Henry Cavill. I think he's great.
Henry Cavill's Superman is a good Superman. Yeah. It's just like he hasn't been able to be the Superman we know he could be. What do you think about what's happening now with DC and the new Warner media strategy with, they're rolling out the infamous Snyder Cut is going to be eventually coming, 4-part something. They've rehired actors. This movie's essentially been remade at this point. And then all the stuff in between. You got Wonder Woman. They're talking about a Flashpoint movie with Michael Keaton coming in and all these Flashpoint characters. What are your feelings and thoughts right now on like where DC and Warner is headed?
I will always hope that they get it right. But because I think it's always going to be a part of Warner, there's always going to be this corporate whiff. And people may even say, I mean, yeah, there's a Marvel style. There's a corporate whiff to Disney. There's a corporate whiff to, the Star Wars Disney stuff. But it's just, the difference is when Marvel stuff went from good to great is when they trusted and believed in the source material. It's the difference between Daredevil, the movie, also with Jon Favreau, and Daredevil, the TV show, which I know Marvel TV was a different thing. But again, it's about trusting the source material. And I don't think that I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen until Warner hires away Feige or Favreau, which I think will probably happen at some point. They'll try to be like, look, we can't do this, so we're just going to get this guy to do it for us, or someone from that camp to be like, we need someone that oversees this, do this for what we've done. Because they when the Avengers came out and they had laid this groundwork for, this crossover movie, and then ultimately they did, Infinity War and all that, which was just the movie that I always wanted as a child. Never thought that I would see 20 movies setting up this other movie. I
just got the goosebumps. Oh man.
Right. And then they try to do everything all in one with Superman, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Let's throw in everyone in a single movie. And so you did not give this time to breathe. I heard great things about Aquaman, but I don't know. I'm ambivalent about, Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Yeah. I think they let him be a little too comfortable. I feel like it's almost like, they're like, he's like, who should I be? And they're like, oh, just be yourself.
That's funny. That's funny. I don't know. I mean, I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to.
Oh, of course. And it's almost like not like when I ask, I get frustrated when people ask me like, oh, are you excited? Am I excited for a Batman, like a Justice League movie? Who are you talking? I have a podcast called Mostly Superheroes. Yeah, I'm excited. Is it going to be good? I don't know. Let's talk about this. James Gunn is one of these guys, right? So he does Suicide. He does Guardians of the Galaxy and 2. both great films. I rewatch them all the time. We have a scale over here. I don't know if you've heard the scale, but we like have a rating on like if we
The
rewatch it, 4.0 scale. I haven't done those yet, but I need to. They're up there though because I'm always putting them back on. Well, now you have him coming in to reboot. It looks like the Suicide Squad, and that's going to be in this. And they've already announced Peacemaker TV show on HBO Max.
Oh, I didn't. Oh no, maybe I saw it and forgot it. That's John Cena, right?
John Cena, and that's also directed by Gunn. So like that's a little bit of that crossover, you know. They got like you bring Gunn over to do both. I don't know. It's just one facet of the story, so I feel like it's a band-aid on a much maybe larger issue.
I agree. I agree, but maybe the hope is that they will have success from that, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we should be doing more of this. Maybe James Gunn is the guy that oversees it. I don't know that James Gunn could do like a whole have that umbrella thing, but I never would have thought that Mikey Peters from Swingers could do it either, you know. And yet here's Favreau, you know, knocking it out of the park. He couldn't even get, you know, he couldn't wait 3 days to call the girl, yet here he is, you know.
Yeah, look at him now.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of like the Snyder cut, I'm going to be most grateful that it'll finally shut the fuck up people that bitch about the Snyder cut.
That's a really good point. Hey, I'm gonna give a round of applause because I wasn't one of these people screaming from the rooftops to release it. I was like, either release it or don't, because like.
And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I'll gladly admit.
Always, and I admit when
I
don't.
Hope.
Yeah, because I don't want to make people think I think something that I don't know. You know. Let's talk about MCU then. You're obviously a big MCU fan. You follow the stories pretty closely,
I do. Yeah, it's funny. I was about to say about the Justice League thing. It's like I wasn't going to hope for it to fail. I don't ever hope for something to fail, but that's not true because I absolutely hope that Venom would fail and that Sony would have to sell Spider-Man back to Disney. And I was so disappointed that, oh God, we're going to have more wrangling of that in the future. And Tom Holland is so good as Spider-Man.
It seems like Sony just shows up and tries to cause a problem. It's like they have it's kind of like you said, the hand-me-downs. They've just got this box of stuff and they're like, well, we're gonna make it, and we're like, well, that's gonna mess up our fan viewing experience. And they're like, well, we're still gonna make it.
And they're making that fucking Morbius movie with is it Jared Leto as Morbius the vampire?
Yep. And then also with I mean, we can talk big MCU crossover Sony because there's like so much happening right now. But Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming is in the trailer for Morbius. It's like, okay, that's wild. But now you've got them openly announcing Sony's The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. Jamie Foxx is confirmed and has interviewed with comicbook.com. Like he's going to be in Spider-Man 3, Tom Holland's Spider-Man as Electro. You're going to get Sam Raimi's Doc Ock, it sounds like. It sounds like they're playing maybe more together than ever before, but also I'm one of these people that I just don't really believe half of the stuff I'm hearing right now.
I believe it because I think what Sony does, again, as corporations love patterns. And what I think has happened is they saw the incredible success of Into the Spider-Verse and like, oh, well, we need to do that with our next Spider-Man movie. Let's get all of our Spider-Men in here, which, hey, until you bring in Nicholas Hammond, it ain't a real Spider-Verse.
Nicholas Hammond. Who's Nicholas Hammond?
From the he was Spider-Man in the 1977 Spider-Man TV show that ran for like 12 episodes.
Oh man, I've seen the footage. I believe I've seen the footage.
it's not as awful as people think.
Okay.
It's played so earnestly. Peter's not quippy. He's more of an adult. So Nick Hammond, he plays him serious. Which is, that's what the material was. I think they were also going off of what the Incredible Hulk was. Incredible Hulk was appearing to an adult, also a female audience at the time. And so that was the playbook that they had. The funny thing about the Spider-Man TV show is you watch it, it's like, oh, we're set in New York, and then they cut to skylines. It's like, it's clearly Los Angeles. It's like, there's not a skyscraper in sight. It's like, okay, yeah, sure it is. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And the other thing that's funny about again, Marvel beating DC to the punch before Flashpoint's going to come out, they're going to have their own Spider-Verse live action movie, so that it's like it's going again. They did a better Darkseid, than DC by having Thanos, now, because before Thanos was like, hey, he was cool and he did the Infinity Gauntlet, but Darkseid was the shit. Darkseid was, he was alpha level bad guy. And they're like, oh, that was in DC. I don't know. Do you know Darkseid from DC?
Oh, dude, come on. Again,
Okay, just checking,
I'm
just
not
checking.
like I don't know like the deep cuts of like I couldn't tell you who his like Darkseid's fourth assistant was, but I can tell you
Okay.
I know Darkseid. And I'll tell you right now, whenever I was watching the Avengers movies early days and you first get that post-credit scene of Thanos. And you like you said the Infinity Gauntlet, he also looked weird in the early stuff. He didn't look as polished as Josh Brolin's did. But I thought to myself like, oh, that's okay. Like, and then when Darkseid's being rumored to be in DC, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be the real deal. That's a bad guy. That's a big bad. And then here we are. Look what happened, man. MCU just out of the park, and DC's trying again.
Yeah, and so I think the whole multiverse thing. It's like, but I will also say that DC is stronger in that they have more of a deeper live action multiverse to pull from. They could, and we saw kind of a hint of this in
Crisis
the
on
Arrowverse.
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah.
So I want to see a George Reeves Superman brought back. I want to see a Christopher Reeves Superman brought back. I mean, I would love to see something like that, but it's going to look like DC copying Marvel.
Well, yes, I say yes and no, because at this point, if you can just make the good movie and tell the good story, I think everybody's going to be happy. And you know what? We've seen in the Star Wars universe, there is like the bring back to life technology, basically, where CGI is to the point now where you got that general from the original movies. They did it with Carrie Fisher, and like there was, she's in most of the movie, but they did recreate some. So it's like, that's exciting to think about that maybe Christopher Reeves could be like on screen somehow. Like that'd be insane. I loved what Crisis on Infinite Earths did, and the Arrowverse. They just went ham on the crossover, bringing in multi-network crossover. They went to Lucifer, the show that was originally on Fox and now it's on Netflix. I mean, I don't know if you remember that. John Constantine actually went to like Lucifer's.
Oh yeah, Constantine was on there. Yeah,
and so like I think you're right. I think they have the capabilities to do this, but talking about what's right around the corner, I mean, WandaVision is kicking off January 15th, and Phase 4 is here, and nothing is going to be more multiverse wacky than that show combined with Doctor Strange 2: Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, things that I'm looking forward to, clearly, especially with the announcements from last week of everything that's coming up with Marvel and WandaVision, which I think launches on my birthday, which is awesome. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think WandaVision, I think that's going to be to Marvel what Mando is to Star Wars, based on, how it just seems to be such a unique and almost like an auteur kind of a take on things. And plus, it's going to have Kat Dennings' cleavage, so I'm already a fan.
That's so funny. My fiance and I were talking about her literally last night. Her name's Kat, right? We couldn't figure out in our heads what her name was, and first thing she said was, "Oh, the big boob girl from Two Broke Girls."
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you right now, man, personally speaking, that's on the top of my list. MCU, thinking about being back in the MCU after how long it's been. I mean, Black Widow never came, and Far From Home was the last thing we saw. To think about watching, I don't know how many episodes will be in WandaVision or like Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, but to think there's even more than 5 episodes of an MCU story, I'm like, is this real life? Like, this is so exciting.
And I think that's where the future of this content is going, because we see far more effort being put into shows that are coming out for Disney Plus than movies. I mean, try to think of movies that we know that are coming out. So many of them are up in the air. Black Widow, I don't know what's going to happen with that. And then the Eternals, with Kit Harington, and I think Angelina Jolie was supposed to be in that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Guardians 3, I don't know. And then the tragedy of Chadwick Boseman. I mean, Feige said that Black Panther 2 is still in the way, but does this mean Shuri's going to take the mantle and be Black Panther, which I think would be wonderful. But I wonder how are they going to handle that transition. But I mean, clearly the future right now is in the TV. I am super excited to see what they're going to do with She-Hulk, because She-Hulk, she's one of my favorite characters from the MCU, because she's so smart and she's so funny. And I think they could do things with that show that DC Universe did with the Harley Quinn animated series, which is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, did you see it with Kaylee Kawako as Harley Quinn and
No,
Lake
I have
Bell as
not.
Poison Ivy? Oh my God, it's on HBO Max now. It is so goddamn good. It got my girlfriend into Harley Quinn.
Oh,
She's
we did watch Suicide Squad the original and then Birds of Prey the films. So
mhm.
that's as far as we've gone down the Harley Quinn road. But I've heard a lot of people talk about this animated series. You're saying it's legit.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think the showrunner used to work on Arrested Development as well. So you see I could be crossing my wires and maybe I'm thinking of the Russo brothers because I know they have that connection. But I know that they've got some some like live action show running stuff that I was like, oh, I'm a fan of their comedy work. But anyway, or this individual. And but it's all about so I historically I've hated Harley Quinn. I've really disliked her, trying to figure out why are we positioning this you know this Bensonhurst accented cigarette girl who's in an abusive relationship. What's she
A
getting out of
sidekick, a
this?
sidekick. At the end of the day, just as a comic book fan, take all the whatever bias out of it. She's a sidekick.
Right. And admittedly, I do like some sidekicks. I mean, I love the Falcon even before the Falcon was, Anthony Mackie. One of my first reading things I remember as a kid was a Power Records presents. It was a book and record set with Captain America and the Falcon taking on an heir of Baron Zemo, which is funny because like it's about Nazis. And also, fun fact, there's some audio from that record that was lifted into Eminem's Rap God at the very beginning of that song. Anyway,
No,
ADHD.
no. Hey, we love the tangents around here, man. That's good.
So sidekicks are fine, but the thing with Harley Quinn is that she's coming out from under the Joker's shadow. She's becoming her own person, and Harley Quinn. It's about the relationship, the friendship, and then maybe romance between Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn.
Wow.
And it is so good. The humor is on point. One of the great scenes is Joker, after Harley Quinn has dumped her and she's making a name for herself. You see a cut to the coffee room at the Legion of Doom, and Joker's sitting there with Bane, and Joker's like the typical abusive narcissist ex-boyfriend talking shit about the girlfriend. Oh, she's crazy. Like, oh, she has HPV, and Bane, who's voiced like Tom Hardy's character or Tom Hardy's characterization, just replies to him, well, most of sexually active adults do have HPV now. It's really wonderful. She crashes.
That's
penguins.
really great. I think that humor, it really resonates with me. I'd be laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I think in the second episode, she crashes Penguin's nephew's bar mitzvah as a way to make a name for herself. I can't recommend it highly enough.
Well,
so.
you've sold me. I'm at least gonna watch episode 1, so I'll check it out. And I'm one to if someone pushes me enough on it, especially a comic book show, it's not gotta twist my arm too hard. All right,
give
man.
it a shot. Let me know what you think. Watch it with your girlfriend or with your fiance. See if she likes it too.
I will, because I mean, like I said, I've already kind of warmed her up with the movies, so now it's a good time to be like, hey, well, I just had an interview with this highly educated guy. He knows what he's talking about. We got to watch this TV show.
It's girlfriend approved, so I know that.
All right, cool, man. Well, I know I've taken a lot of your time today, but I've had a blast.
No, me too. You can go for another hour if you want. No,
well,
I'm good.
I would love to, but I have more things to do today, as always. But I want to say thanks again for coming on and exploring the TV and film side of things with us too in the later half of the episode. And this is what I'm gonna say: we barely scratched the surface of so many things. I would love to have you back on, either in another segment like this, or I'd love to have you on the show with our regular group. I have a couple guys. PC Mike, the Giggler, you've heard him.
The Giggler, yeah.
Would love to have you on with us and be our fourth and just kind of shoot the shit with us if you're open to it.
I'm down.
Hey, I don't ask everybody that, so you
I'm honored.
Yeah, not to say I don't need you to praise me for asking you, but
no. That absolutely it is. That's a dream situation, and I would love to be a part of it, and I'd love to be the obnoxious liberal voice of the show.
That's perfect. We need that. We're just these guys. He's PC Mike. He's too conservative. I mean, it's in his name. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and how they can get a hold of your art and how they can see your art?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Stephen Walden, StevenWalden. Also, Facebook.com/Stephen Walden Art, all one word. Like my art page there, I have a personal account, but that's where I express my personal opinions. So if you just want the art, just stick to that page. And I have Twitter also at Stephen Walden. And then I've got a webpage, StephenWalden.com. If you have any questions or anything, want to talk, reach out. It's best to get a hold of me through email or any direct messages on those services. My email is Stephen@StephenWalden.com. That's with a V.
That's awesome. And folks that are listening and watching, we'll have this for you down in the description. So make sure you check out those links, and we'll share your social with everybody so they can find you. Stephen Walden, local St. Louis artist. Man, don't go anywhere. Stick around. But I want to say thank you very much. And I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to be back.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time. This was another Logan's Heroes. Okay, hope you enjoyed that episode with Steven. I know I did. We'll definitely be having him back on. We were talking after the show, and we were saying we barely scratched the surface on so many big topics. His knowledge of Star Wars and the friends he has that have knowledge of that area, as well as his fandom of the DC world and the MCU. I mean, it's going to be fun. So thanks again to Steven. Definitely go check him out and all his social and channels he mentioned. Have those for you in the description, of course, so you can easily find him. With that, keep an eye out for the Batman Returns Christmas special. We will be recording that very shortly. And if we don't see you, have a great holiday, but you're going to hear from us before then, I promise. This has been Mostly Superheroes. I'm Logan. Take it easy.